Okay. So we're beautiful pure spirits born into this physical body. We are magnetically, they have somehow found some way to magnetically attach us to these bodies, whatever they're doing, however they're doing it. When we're born, when a child's born, if it doesn't have it in the first, I think it's 9 months, maybe a year, if it's not shown any kind of attention, if it's not picked up, if it's not, you know what I mean? It's gonna die. It dies. The body will fucking die. So the only thing we need when we're born is we need nourishment. And nourishment as a baby would be the safe space created by our parents. Let's make it easy. The safe space created by our parents, okay? That's all we need, because what we're trying to do is our parents are supposed to provide this nurturing, safe space for our baby physical forms to nurture and grow to a point where our spirit is now ready to, fully automate, so that way we don't have little Chuckies running around, maybe. I don't know. But instead of that happening, so instead of our parents providing that safe space for us, what happens is our parents allow these authorities that they gave their sovereignty up to, that their parents probably gave their sovereignty up to, but through their years of living, they voluntarily continued to give up their servitude and their authority to. So now what they've done, because this is all they know, this is their programming, as soon as you're born, they assign you a name and number for the state, just like a cow, right? Just like they do with cattle. They do the same fucking thing. They inventory you. So your parents, not knowing any better and being agents of the state anyways, and under the state's authority anyways, they allow the state to catalog you. So now you're automatically in the system. So not only do they allow the state to catalog you, but they allow the state to start putting their fucking heavy metals. And these heavy metals, it's just like with whatever else. These heavy metals are meant to slow you down, dumb your senses, and get you to stop thinking. That's what these metals are for, okay? That's what these metals do. These metals make you heavy. They make you toxic, which is poisonous. Because what is happening is your soul is freaking out now. Your soul is sitting there in the first moments of life, has now been cataloged, has been injected with heavy metals, the most heavy poisons on earth, has been slapped around from hand to hand to hand to hand to stranger, has been put in solitary confinement inside this fucking piece of plastic in a room with a bunch of screaming other humans. You have, in the first day, traumatized that child so badly, its soul is going, what the fuck? What happens for most souls they skew this. That's why it's hard for me to explain. I'm unraveling this, you know what I mean? So it's a work in progress. But as I can see it right now, through this abuse, they are pushing you got 3 parts of your brain, the lowest part of your brain. They are activating the lowest part of your brain, okay, which they call the insect or reptile. The reptile part of your brain, I think is what it's called, right? So they are activating that reptile, which is fight or flight instinct, right? I'm not getting this exactly right, guys, but just follow along. So they're activating that part of the lowest part of that brain. And that brain, what it does is it wants to survive. Okay, so it finds coping mechanisms. So what we're learning how to do now is survive in this world. We are no longer, we immediately, you got kicked out. You got kicked out of the upper part of your brain, right? So you're in survival. Well, what happens is a lot of us end up being able to go along because in order to survive, you've got to create splits. So you're creating splits and you find your comfort space, right? And to be able to get along in this world where you're going to be able to survive and do what you got to do socially, go to school, fucking all this stupid shit, right? Well, what happens is some of us are not able to. This is where the mental illnesses come in. Some of us, our brains do not allow that switch to happen. It fights. It won't stop. That's called ADHD. That's called, these are the mental illnesses, okay? These mental illnesses, ODD, OCD, operational deficiency disorder, oh, God damn it, I'm not even gonna try. But they're just so ridiculous. All of these mental illnesses are a buck, like a big buck to the system, to the powers that be. Because when you have ADHD, you can't sit still. When I was in kindergarten, I went to kindergarten twice. I went at 4 years old, 5 years old, and then I went to first grade. And then okay, so we're going to talk about those 3 years. I couldn't sit still. I loved it. Like, I loved school. I loved all the, my senses. I was highly aware, right? So it was like, it was like a fucking zoo, right? All the different kids and all the different things going on. And then they would make you sit. Oh my God, dude, I couldn't sit. It was such a shattering experience for me. Getting into this big classroom and everybody's running around, and then all of a sudden everybody had to sit. And it's like, what do I do with all this that wants to go like that, right? So, that is what we're talking about here, okay? So it's a buck to authority, like, because authority is going to try to control another human while they're getting their play out and then be like, okay, sit, time to sit. You know what I mean? That's an authority. There's something wrong there. There's no reason for that. That's stopping the free flowing of a human being, right? So I couldn't sit. I just couldn't sit. When I would sit, it felt like there was a fire under my ass. It felt like I was sitting on a spring. It felt like I had to hold the desk from the bottom to hold my ass down. That's what it felt like for me. I constantly got the dunce hat. Getting your hand slapped with the ruler by the teacher. Back then they did that. The dunce hat sitting in the corner. I remember, the whole class laughing. Ah! And I wasn't the only one. There were other kids who this happened to, but this was like an ongoing thing for me. This was like I had the dunce hat on many times. I could not sit still. The best thing for me was Indian style, because I could cross my legs and I'd hold my feet. It's that weird, because my feet just wanted to untangle and fucking get up and start, going crazy. And, so it was just constant. And then I remember my mom would get called to the school, constantly, or get notes home, because I couldn't sit still. I would just move. And then, so that happened up to, I think, first, maybe second grade. And then all my memory of that kind of behavior in school went away. And what I've come to understand from the dynamics of family dynamics is, it is because I knew that I was disappointing my mother. So in order to please her and make her happy, because I saw I was creating sadness for her, I actually regulated my ADHD in school and whatever else I was dealing with, my autism and, well, not my autism, see, and this is the other problem. So the questions, the questioning. So I would question all the time. I mean, I was the most curious little fucker, and I had so much common sense and logic. Like, I just fed it through this common sense and logic thing in my head. Like, if it, it either made sense or it fucking didn't. And if it didn't make sense, I would ask questions till it fucking made sense. And what would happen with these adults is, when they would start all this Jesus shit, I would ask them questions and they were very uncomfortable. I was constantly being pushed. Like, in a group of adults asking questions, I'd be constantly be pushed, pushed, like with their foot or with their hand, or, just trying to tighten me out. I mean, I remember this as a kid now. Like, I had blocked all this stuff out until I've done this healing and allowed myself to heal, and because I couldn't really recall much of my childhood, and then as I've healed, I've been able to, relax, and my self is taking me back to these things that I need to address and need to heal. And what I'm realizing is that these are very important points, because what they've been doing, thankfully I never got put on highly toxic medication, but a lot of these kids get put on highly toxic medication. All that's happening to these kids is that their brains, while everybody else is being brainwashed at an early age, their brains just refuse to accept the brainwashing. And what's happening, they have a whole bunch of cognitive dissonance, and they're trying to deal with that cognitive dissonance. So they act out, okay? And any type of acting out as an adult or anything is a revertal back as a child. And what did you do as a child, as a baby? You cried because you wanted your parents' attention. Well, why do you do these things? Because you want attention. So what you're trying to do is you're trying to give yourself that nourishment that you were supposed to get as a baby to however many, few years old, that you didn't receive, or you received in very, very, very minuscule doses, just enough to keep your stupid ass alive. And now what you're doing is you are, man, I think I'm adding too many things in here, but so yeah, you're dealing with the ADHD and all that shit, which is your brain that refuses to accept the programming. And what the government wants to do is give you highly toxic medication, make you fucking shut up, sit down and test well, right? That's what they want you to do. They test you for 18 years. They want to test you in school and make sure you're fucking compliant and you're on board with the fucking program, and you're on board with the bullshit, and you're on board with the goddamn fucking circle jerk, right? So, and then, so you got the ADHD and all the mental illness aspect of it, which is calling these cocksuckers out, which they have to try to highly medicate and tell you got problems, so that way you'll shut the fuck up, right? Make you look like a fucking crazy cocksucker, right? And then the other aspect of it is, let's see, what was the other aspect of it? The asking questions, just the, because what happens, the way these other brains were able to be brainwashed was because they gave up. They quit asking questions because they realized, oh, this is fruitless. In order to survive, I need to shut the fuck up and just mold in with my surroundings, with my, fit in with my society, my environment. And so that's what I'm trying to say. So we're bringing slaves, guys. You are not bringing free thinking souls in your children that you love. You are actually an agent of the state who is fucking producing new slaves. You are actually birthing through your own fucking loins in own processes. You are birthing new slaves into this system to put into bondage, and you're immediately putting these authorities over them. And so they don't have a chance. They don't have a fucking chance, man. And that's what we do to our kids. And it all comes back to faith and belief, guys. Like I said, if we get back in truth, fact, and reality, these are the facts. These are the facts. We are fucking enslaved. If you don't believe me, wait for the fucking government to shut the fucking world down again and put your muzzle on your fucking kid and shut your kid fucking up and shove fucking poisons in his vein again. You better get back to truth, fact, and reality. Quit fucking around with these cocksuckers, because they're going to fucking kill you. They're going to fucking really torture the fucking shit out of you before they do, though.